무슨 소리야?
잠깐만 말을 내놔.
너무 됐네.
깨꾸가
Good, so good. Good.
이 깨꾸가
Good. Good. 야, 너무 더 좋아.
We'll say the prayer on page number 10. In English, on page number 11, I take refuge in the Guru. I take refuge in Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in Sangha. From now on, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. And by the very previous practice, the eyes and the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. All sentient beings enjoy happiness and causes. All sentient beings are free from suffering and causes. All sentient beings are be separated from joyful rest. All sentient beings are vitally illuminated. Your bias, attachment, and anger is round, not to be revealed, strewn with flowers, long to mirror, encircled by the four continents, surmounted by the sun. I visualize this Buddha field of fruit, where all living beings enjoy the pure air.
아니 참말로 잠들다시 되시 요시대랑 하는 거 하다 망치와 남지 미냥 바샤다 시대 자네 시다 감 먹어. 좀 내오시까지 그러고지라.
Good morning to you all. Thank you for joining me in this morning's Dharma practice. And today, because since I noticed that all of you here today is advanced, a long time practitioners, so I'm not going to say something that's a kind of can be considered as additional or for the purpose of clarification, but rather go straight ahead to the text.
진짜 아니 다 많이 돈이 잔디즈 공자가 있어.
Of course, before we touch the real topic of today, and I would like to invite you to join me in the recitation of the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum and the meditation on Avatokluftashvara, with of compassion.
다 잔디즈 로지치나 잔디즈 기동 샘길네 샘간다께서 샘지 탐지기 동안 원벌 조벌 성기긴 세 상무드나 상수지 샘으로 어때 잔디즈 당보 샘지 탐지기 동안 원벌 조벌 성기긴 상무드 간다 당에 그러나 미로 때 샘기 당때 름바스미 요도 저스 탐지 가서 저승 칼로아도 샘치세 스몬 거 된다 아니 요도 샘지도 나 당보 성기네 샘지 탐지야 당비 상란되긴 세 저승 칼로아도 때 당보 가서 참 냠때 로 샘지 탐지 원벌 조벌 성기긴 세야 티체등아 조성이고 뭐 탐지 냠도 성성기 잔데스 그 샘기 때 내가 샘지 탐지 성기 선내가 타마때 성기긴 되지 샘기 버티도 샘기 배 랍체모로 지네 타마때 성기 되지네 아니 그런 그룹에 담자 지내가 샘지 탐지 원벌 조벌 성기 마츠베 버튼 아랑 성기게 맨 지네 아니 때인데 그때 때리게 삼로 코르체나 아랑 린데 덤보 동을 쇼치 지네 텐데 말음 겨서 당고배 샘결에서 공부 공금는데 뜻은 애니 그런 그룹에야 샘결이 되는 šan스 샘비 줘발라 라보치니 전에 로아 샘지 망고 딱비상 맞장네 다 장장매 받는 로아 망고 장장장도 장 탐자다 고빈 로아 장장장 때 용례 만로치니 다가는 조방한 바 그자배 지살에 삼로 때 망례 오늘 때 고배 샘로 탕천이 오단 로안 등은 탐진도 탐지기 등을 세트 사마리 삼로도 코르네 대고 한국 담자 뒤톱기 리다 담바동 차서서 또다 드네다 뭐 오보메 그마 신기랍지네 그거 뭐좀 샘식이 맞을 때 리다 그런 된리가 그거 말아 안에서네 신기랍 리 담바동 뜻다 샤동 전동 신기랍네 오지지 당 된지 저 샤동 전동 신기는 로아 섬진 탐지기 돈시발 펜토 전부 요즘에다 상기 가서 상기 동당 전동 가서 상기 동 직된데가 쇼스 된데가 신기라 샤동데 콜로지 요 동된데가 니와동다 바된데 신기라네 에네 섬진 것도 시 된데 시엔자다 잔데스 시다가 랍친 것된데가 요가 샘게 당치요 된사다디 옴만이 밤내 홈세와 생각때 다 가정에 드시야 옴세와 된 로아 그 링을 있으면 총고르지 이게 섬데 발마세야 되가 상치 샘 총고르 말 많이 써야 되게 좀 심청고르지. 네, 발마서야 돼. 셰럽 청고르지. 홈서야 돼. 기타 야와링이 이기스 nga nyam tsaga jor yawar nga sondori yawar nga tenin jungwa zam tenin jungwa yin tsang arang su semchin tamchi ge yerwa teba yores lingri isum bu de shamnyang ji shirb ki ngo pa ngir teba yor te sa te la mene to nda ngarang su tanda mak ge je be da ji da maksa ni shijin ba tang de de gondun jing gang la yo bi gang cha yong gen su changma lingri isum de shamnyang ji 당 shirb tang de ngo gyur sho chu sam malum dam ne to na pa to gyur sang du se
Okay. As I said, we're going to practice the recitation of the mantra, the heart mantra of Avalokiteshvara, without compassion, Om Mani Padme Hum. Before we practice the actual meditation, I'd like to say a few words about the Buddha of compassion, Avalokiteshvara, or Avalokiteshvara. Avalokita. As we all know that to be the greater Bodhisattva, and one must generate the mind of enlightenment or awakening mind. And awakening mind is bodhicitta, mind that which is determined to attend Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. Or the combination of a greater compassion and love. So yes, we the examples of it which we can learn from Buddha Avalokiteshvara, compassion Buddha, is that he is the one who generated the awakening mind, or dedicated himself to the bodhicitta, the practice of bodhicitta. But before we talk about the bodhicitta, and it is worth to point out that essentially, or generally speaking, there are three kinds of bodhicittas, or mind of enlightenment or awakening mind. One is the bodhicitta that can be resembled as a king, or king-like the bodhicitta, and the second is like a captain like the bodhicitta, and the third like a herdman like the bodhicitta. So, so whoever generates a bodhicitta or intends to develop the mind of enlightenment. In other words, to attend the mind which is intended to attend Buddha for the benefits of all sentient beings, he or she has to generate or develop one of the three kinds of mind of enlightenment or awakening mind. What amazing, very special about Avalokiteshvara in terms of the way he generated the mind of enlightenment, the bodhicitta that he generated, is that he did not choose to develop the king-like the bodhicitta, and he also did not choose to develop the captain-like the bodhicitta. But he decided to develop the bodhicitta that it can be resembled as a herdman, or herdman's the herdman like the bodhicitta. Herdman like the bodhicitta is that compared to the king like the bodhicitta and the captain like bodhicitta, what is amazing is that in this case, whoever generated this form of bodhicitta, the herdman like bodhicitta, is that he or she determined to attend Buddhahood as the last person. He or she determined to help out others. Let's everyone, all sentient beings, and assist all sentient beings to attend Buddhahood first, then finally and attend the Buddhahood himself. So Avalokiteshvara, and obviously before he becoming a fully enlightened one, he chooses this type of the method or the form of the bodhicitta, and he dedicated himself. As his dedication, he determined to do so. He was so resolved to do so, and then he dedicated himself to took the form and the action and to assist the sentient beings to attain enlightenment. So on the process of his to practice of herd man like bodhicitta, so he worked tirelessly and full-heartedly, and so they assisted the numerous number of beings and to attend assist them either to be able to attend the Pure Land or other forms of the liberated status of liberation, or attend become liberated, achieve the liberation. However, what happened is that the more he dedicated himself, the more tried his best, we find that there are more, instead of reduce the number of sentient beings who attended Pure Land or state of liberation, instead of reducing, he find actually is multiply or kind of increasing. And at that point, he really find that that's hopeless. So even though he took the oath, and as we know that to develop bodhicitta, one has to pledge and take oath and determine or resolve to attain Buddhahood. Until attain Buddhahood, will never ever give up the bodhicitta. So to the point he finds that the number of sentient beings is increasing instead of decreasing, and he finds that it's just hopeless. So I think he had the thought of give up. And but before before this moment, what happened is that when he took in the vow and to engaging himself in the herdman life with the cheetah, he made an oath. He said, I want to attend Buddhahood as the last person. If I give up my oath, then I'm willing to kind of breaking myself as a result of give up. I'm willing to take the serious consequence, such as like broken myself into many pieces. So since he took this oath, so therefore at the moment he find the increasing the number of the sentient beings increasing, then he gave up. And instantly, of course, because he had this oath, he took the oath, and then his body is broken into many pieces. It is thousand pieces. And at that moment, Buddha Amitabha appeared to him and comforted him and encouraged him, and then told him that by the blessings of Amitabha, and he will put all the pieces of Avalokita, and which was once he was a Bodhisattva, and his body into put it together. And so blessed by Buddha Amitabha, and then Bodhisattva Avalokita had his body again. However, at this time, because he was so determined and so fully hearted, committed himself to the practice of bodhicitta, so therefore now he had this 1,000 arms, 1,000 and eyes. This is this incredible and a magical sort of sacred body. In other words, appeared in such a very sacred way, and then become the Buddha Avalokiteshvara with 1,000 arms and 1,000 eyes. In other words, he endured it, become the enlightened one who endured it with such a bodily magnificent bodily attributes and the qualities. So that from this very short narrative, and we can learn that the Buddha of Avalokita, or the Buddha of compassion, his practice and how he went through the practice of dedication or the dedication of bodhicitta. So we recited Om Mani Padme Hum. We have a quick reflection, a swift reflection onto this kind of a background knowledge, so encourage us that we as a beginner or as a practitioner ourselves, we can also do it ourselves. So now let me repeat what I have said in the last Sunday about the meanings of a 6-syllable Avalokiteshvara, mantra of Avalokiteshvara. So Om and Mani Padme Hum. So we can break this 6 syllables into 4 sort of categories. First of all, Om is represented the body, speech, and mind of the all-sentient being. Mani is represented essentially is about jewel or treasure, but here it represented the great compassion, right? And then Bema is the lotus visually, but the hidden representation, the meaning of Bema is the greater wisdom, wisdom that I understand or clearly perceiving the actuality or the ultimate reality. The home is represented dependent arising. So together, the body, speech, mind of sentient being, and the great compassion, and the wisdom, or ultimate wisdom, and plus the idea of dependent arising. We all know that the dependent arising at this point is so crucial, is because it's no matter what is or isn't, or the status, or whatever the status of the core, or any form of possibilities, the things, events is subject to change, right? So because that is the nature of the things, events, so therefore, if we dedicate ourselves, our body, speech, and mind, and in the compassion of engaging the greater practice of compassion, great compassion, and the wisdom, and the combination of the unification of these two qualities, and by the power of dependent arising, and we ourselves can become the Bodhisattva and attain enlightenment, and for the sake of our all sentient beings.
Oh ja, dat. Stond im Stabund.
On page number 10, page number 70.
Manu Padme Hum, 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 Manu
的到山地上的人的多些。等内上了我不是说上次先说人不过是马希望的这些人些就话样公内公的配偶说哎呀我的这东西呢탑시 이유도 일하잖아. 강서 되게 셰럽 당다나 남영 샤와도 놓고 말이지. 영지 당다나 남영 잘라 채와 용고 말이지. 대사다는 잠만 시대 용어라. 또 전부 요래. 대 소매대 그미 잠시 나오지지.
So I just wanted this, let me share what what I heard in my head in this very moment. So, it is absolutely critical for us to practice the upaya and the parajana or jhana. In other words, the skillful means, which is great compassion, and the wisdom that understand the ultimate nature of all phenomena. Why these two are so critical is because if you have the great compassion, and you will never ever engage in any or take any action which is against others and create any injury to others or bring upon injuries to anyone. If you have the wisdom, which understands the ultimate nature of reality, then you will never ever be confused or make mistakes. So therefore, it is a very valuable, a great thing for us to dedicate ourselves to the practice of the great compassion and wisdom. Yeah, I guess yes. So this practice at the individual level and is so critical is because it would help us, to develop the peace and bring peace to others or maintain the peace where we are and in our daily life. But more critically, in this very moment, in our planet Earth today, I guess our leaders and who must have or should have engage themselves or dedicate themselves to the practice of wisdom and compassion. Otherwise, I'm afraid, or I have a fear that it could cause the Third World War.
Oh yeah, 다 같은 공만에 맡겨 그랬다. 대응치동 강석이 위니스 또대 시지 다음에 당 강석이 다음에 시샤오 텔라치 치는 똑바 다스는 니오르코비 시왈리 나초 이가 메토카시 상 설기 강총 바와 용와 ndana telang shepo ga mes te tak topi wangi japayin topi wangi jiktin nam tak te chinam shi chi chinam topi wangi japar songwa tang ripat chi wale jiktin mari kenchin de gansir zopi sangi song te shirnan jiktin de nam to yin shi chimatil shi songwi donde tang jiktin nam rangi ngo madrpa topi tatsum te jang yalo gawali jang topa me prendo chagla sopa yo nil yo mena yang ta ton ton topa shi lo tong da ba shin zin shi song shang tin dewi jang topa yo pa khoni yo pa nil tang topa me pa nil te ta na korma chapar thapar dombar tapi dretar rangi ngo madrpar ngeso shi ngo madrpa jint tapi chatang chapi number tapi dilt tapa tang drawar shatos tertr lejin tang chojin so kanza tang wombas womnang so ki chinam tapi tatsum te jetsil tang yema khenki dishang talang te chitsi Dishang ti tang de talong tag pi tag se tag pa de don ba men ba be chi tag pa dil topper tag sil nam cha ken ni zhong sil chang yo me to tag pi tang de dil ne nang gi lo chwi wang gi ja zam ma yin bar tag pi cha shi re le lang chok pa kang lang dil zhong sil chang dil zhong sil chang Japa me chang, tebzin te dishang gi tang te melong nang gi zingin la sokpa kan la chongwar rikpa shawo. Tetse rangji ki dagtan zamba lanchi ki kansak tang, chi ki dagtan zamba, zinsete lapar shate, har shaba tar thakpa dita chawi tse, zhite dil tang, dil nanga nika, lo chawa zamki gangi zhagji, te mambi, il thakpi ngini, japa chongsa kyang mepe lo zhagpa zam tang. Tebzin te melong nang te shijin nang witsi gambo da shangwala melong nang gi mu na tang zginin nika lo chwa zam ji jagti te tak te membi yil tang ne jpa jong se kyang me per ngi lawa go lawar to lawa number hui shite chir ngao nyam ten zamba la zinsil sim yopi gambo de japa zginin charsil tar mayim bar 이릉이 릉이네 드피 요버는 점바는 강석기 당진 한기 땅 디땅 이 일기 강석기 더즈 점바니 남토티 랑그 시월 셰반 마임비 치근 데터 로터빈 점바는 치지 당진 한길 데떡진 진땅 이기 다음에 딱반 바시 그시 점바탕 랑랑기 랑기 찬이 드바당 오 드바당 돈 담버 드바당 뎀버 드바당 양 담버 드베 소세 다멜 곰비 세 랑기 당진 한기기 저터 종슬 근덕진 점바당 만디ور 니월 종슬 소 셔월 나 탁바 쳔보기 기위 신이 여렁도 템비 그로알리 종월 스테 라퍼 쓸 잡르샤티 당니 쳔보 성기 장부 셴니 기위 신인 양 답버 기월 셰바 망 신지 말로버 전대시 송을 따로 저다 더블로서
Now please go to your copy translation, copy 115, and the second line from the bottom. The way phenomena are designated by thoughts is stated in the questions of Upali Sutra. The variety of blooming flowers and the magnificent, radiant, golden castles are not created by anyone. They are designated by thought. For the world is hosted by the force of thought. Thus, it explains that all phenomena are designated by the power of the thought. 60 stanzas of reasoning also says, if the Buddha rationally thought whether the world is conditioned by ignorance, why is it not appropriate to view the world as a misperception? What this means is that world do not exist by their own nature, but by mere designation. 400 verses also says, if there is no imputation by thought, even desire and so forth have no existence. Then who with the intelligence would maintain that that a real object is produced dependent on thought? The commentary aids undoubtedly those that exist only through the existence of thoughts, and those that do not exist when there is no thought are to be understood as not existing by way of their own entity, just as a snake is imputed to a coiled rope. Therefore, from the viewpoint of imputation by thoughts, although lacking existence by way of their own nature, attachment, and so forth, are explained as being like a snake imputed to a coiled rope. There is not the slightest difference between the way phenomena such as persons like Divatada and Yandada, or things like vests and woolen clothes are imputed by thought, and the way pebbles and sticks are designated as a horse and elephant by a conjurer when he transformed them into such a thing, or the way a coiled rope at dusk is designated by thought as a snake. The rope mistaken for a snake is not merely designated by the force of mistaken thought. In addition, not the slightest fragment of a snake existed, either in the part of the rope or in the coil bundle. The same can be said of conjurers, pebbles, and sticks, reflections in a mirror, and so forth. An easier way to reach a conviction about the way the innate misconception of self within our mind streams gives rise to the misconception of a self of person and phenomenon is, as was explained before, that when a rope is mistaken for a snake, both the snake and the appearance of a snake in relation to the basis are merely projected by the force of mistaken mind. Besides this, from the point of view of the rope, there is not the slightest trace of the existence of such an object as a snake, which is merely projected by the mind. Similarly, when a force appears to be inside a mirror, even a canny old man knows that the appearance in the mirror of both the eyes, nose, and so forth, and the reflection is merely a projection of the mistaken mind. Taking this as an example, it is easy to discern, easy to understand, and easy to realize that there is not the slightest trace of existence from the side of the object itself. In general, there are three kinds of apprehension involved in conceiving of the thoughts of an I. Unlike the way reflection appears to a canny old man, apprehending the object, the I, as a thought, apprehending of the object, the I, as though it exists due to its being established from its own side, is the innate misperception of a self of a person. The object of such a mode of apprehension is the self of person. The mode of apprehension that derived from exaggerating of compounded and uncompounded phenomena from form up to the omniscient mind is the innate misperception of the self of phenomena. The object of this mode of apprehension is the mark of true existence, which is the object to be negated in establishing selflessness. This includes anything considered to be existent by way of its own characteristic, existent through its own entity, ultimately existent, truly existent, existing as its own reality, and so forth. When meditate on selflessness, you must clearly identify how the object of negation is apprehended by your own innate misperception of self. Unload with intellectually acquired conceptions, detailed recognition of this comes about through cultivating close relationships with the spiritual friends of a great vehicle and pleasing him for a long time. Therefore, such a method must be thoroughly pursued, just as the great being Haribandra has said. The undistorted instruction is to please the spiritual friends impeccably.
Tadi don't roach, Chatantan the Malone, Chatan the Pek, Kalekaho, Chitan by Yukut, Manga Song Yukutina. Chatang in the party, Lord Harnai, William Skarzananga, the Yarum Chimden, Tunjimura Yamden, the long to Yora, cousin long get into it, then sang it to Lutama. Some that Georgia so Garshagos and Digitanda Catindela, Chatan on the Dame Secutella, Ni Jacques. Kansak dame bata chi dame bata ni jaw kansak dame bata ngaw ngan zambi ngan te ni chali sone rangjin ji dpate dember dpata ani rangin ni dpa mebran zambate kansak dame re chi ki tang la pa zini namkin ki part chi thamchi ki tang da pa gyar so chi thamchi ya takbe tatsum jatsum zama to rangjin rangin ni dpa da rangsin ji dpa ani dember dpa zambate chi ki dang re otte me part chi dame re te da Gonzo Chitang Gonzo Neo Denver Mepa is Chitang Chili Chitang Rede, or the Tambo, the Shenita, the long one, the Sanji long dog long to the long Kashi Tangsha, Tang, the Pakani and the Pela Yarnikori, the Shijapta, the new Shira.
So, as you have noticed that the paragraphs we just read, it's at least to some of you, it sounded quite challenging, and it's a difficult one. It is, if you feel so, I understand how you feel, because generally speaking, the subject such as the emptiness or shunyata, or ultimate reality, is a very deep and difficult the subject to be comprehended. So it is a kind of a normal as a beginner, and you feel challenges. You're being challenged, but still, I want to push it through and I want to go through all the thing, and because I have taken this very teaching from His Holiness the Dalai Lama myself. So therefore, and I sort of inherited the oral transmission of this very sacred, important text, and I'm happy to share the transmissions of at least the transmission of the which I received directly from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So anyway, let's give it a try and try to understand what we have read, what it essentially was trying to say. So obviously, the most difficult and the essential topic of the paragraphs we just read is talking about the selflessness. Right? So selflessness, we heard such a word. So you know that you should remember that when you talking about or heard the selflessness or emptiness or shunyata, it's generally speaking is divided into, or it's in a reference to or refer to the two categories of there are two different categories of emptiness or selflessness. So one selflessness is a selflessness of person, another is selflessness of a phenomena. So now how we differentiate these two, I see that the distinctions, right, between the selflessness of person and selflessness of phenomena. Here is how you should do. Okay? First of all, when you pursuing, try to understand the selflessness of person. Right? Your practice, right? Your practice of this, your practice of understanding the selflessness of person, if it involved, right? Involved that by no means and in any case, regardless whatsoever, if the conclusion, the very conclusion of your practice, meaning your analytical examination or your critical, insightful reflections upon some kind of the status of individuality or person, self, right? Self here is mean person, the self of person, your identity, right? If your critical analysis and examination or meditation or reflection upon your own individuality and reach the point where you see that very your own individuality, the person, or your own I, okay, it does not, the very conclusion you draw on is does not inherently exist. So this very conclusion you draw on are the points you reach, then that means the selflessness of the person has been ascertained, or the view, right? The clear, the pure view with respect to what is the absolute or what is the general, the true status of the self or the individuality is being established, right? Because your critical analysis of the individuality, the status of individuality is it turns out that it is not, it's empty, it's devoid of inherent existence. So that is the selflessness of person. And that's how you determine the selflessness of a person. Okay? So the next is the selflessness of phenomena. the selflessness phenomena here is referred to all forms of a possible existing object involved both subjectivities, objectivities. Okay? So in the classical Buddhist
It's 11 o'clock.
way of explanation, it says that when we talk about the selflessness of phenomena here in this particular context is referred to anything that is started the form that we ordinary beings can perceiving. We can sort of try to make sense out of it, right? This form, and all the way and to the so the phenomena which perceived by the omniscience, right? So in other words, that anything that's from visible, right? Any objectivities or any object phenomena, we can say objectively is a visible, perceivable, which is kind of accessible for us as a human being, right? And all the way, it's so hidden and so subtle, only appears subject to the mind of omniscience. All of them are considered the phenomena, right? That's the phenomena. So the range, it covers the whole entire range of the existence, the things, events that we generally speaking is called it does exist. Right? And it's not in the sense that it exists for only available or relevant to us as a human being, but rather it's that is also including the things or events that's very hidden due to its profundity or its subtlety and by its own characteristics. So in any case, if your persuasion or your practice of understanding the phenomena, the emptiness of phenomena or the selflessness of phenomena, and finally, again, you need to apply or adopt it and devote yourself to the practice or the methodology, the view, and the pure view, which I understand the emptiness of phenomena or selflessness phenomena. And your dedication of critical analysis, the examination of the true status or nature or the characteristic, real characteristic of phenomena, and if brought you to the point where you see that, like the textbook says, that anything that you see that anything that's considered to be exists by the way of its own characteristics. Okay. If you wish, you can go to the page 117 and the last line. Right? Okay. So, which is the object to be negated is the marks is established in establishing selflessness. As here says, including anything considered to be existed by the way of its own character. Right? That's one. Of course, that's the rejected, right? Been rejected or been negated, right? And also your critical analysis, examination, and finally also helped you to reach the point that the true nature or the nature of all phenomena, both the visible and the hidden, it is, after all, does not exist. Okay, does not exist through its own entity. Similarly, does not exist ultimately. It does not ultimately does not exist, and it does not truly existent. It does not exist as its own reality. So, therefore, and if you find yourself reached such a point, okay, in terms of understanding what is the true nature of phenomena or the selflessness of phenomena, and then so the clear indication is that your practice or your investigation and clearly and revealed the made the truth revealed and itself to you. That is, after all, and all phenomena, right? And is being it has lack of or devoid of, and it has no anything that is established objectively, inherently, and at its own from its own side, but rather and the phenomena appear to us out there, which is resulting from the power of the imputation of thoughts. So that's why that in order to establish 2 points, right? 2 critical and the subject matter, the selflessness phenomena and the selflessness of a person. So the text introduced to us sort of refer us to the great commentaries, such as the question of Upali's not commentary, the great materials, scripture, such as questions of Upali Sutra, and as well as the 60 stanzas of reasoning, and also the 400 verses. So through this way, we know that it is clear to us, taught by Buddha, right, himself, and all the way to the explanations or commentaries composed by all the eminent masters. They all and consistently show us one thing, that is the way how we should clearly and to understand establish or understand and establish the pure view and clear understanding about what is the selflessness of person and what is the selflessness of phenomena.
다 배고니 컨텐츠 버즈나 멜롱는 그 증인동 타타드든 좀 봤던 지미 비스는 던데 망보스 군데 오르다 멜롱는 그 증인 가르는 가나서 멜롱는 아따용 오르서 멜롱는 증인 샤고 가나서 디나 샤고 이나 띠능라 찌땅 능외 동아마도 동외 능아 망고파 시용 저 세바나지 멜롱는 그 증인 따용 오르서 멜롱는 그 증인도 좀 지진디나 요바나지 가나서 띠 멜롱는 그 증인 라테니 소소그 시즌 폴라 셔드르치 타고 디나나 아주 동발 나고요나 멜롱는 나고 셔도 ngoy ni 가나서 동발 나고요 때 젠디 사와메 바노때 말로와르 피능나 나가데 이나 나와 따르 티능나 멜롱나 요르즈나 요 말때 티능나 즈잉가 동발 멜롱 다 테닌 종아서 부기 샤레 테라 페랑네 에네 멜롱는 그 즈잉 나진 지레 에네 체담지 지글랑 니와데 타다 드즈즈 바제 나도 남 지금 살마살다 무살레 무세테 네 간석거 아니 타바 타타 텐데 통나데 오들림발 드트 삼네 에네 텔란 직특지요 직특지 용어서 직특지 용어서 때 셈비땅네 드트 좀 바디요자 때가 아니 텔라 드진 직특지고리나 타바 그런 거 땅나 직 전에서나 다통다 드릭 차시 강요 요 말 드릭이 말이네 타바 드트 좀 바텔라 테니 파쇼 소스 그런 게 타바 타타데 딜레 삼는 좀 바텔라 테니 또 직특지 용어 또 나오지 어떤 나오진 치탐지 파쇼는 요 말도 소송은 좀 바텔라 테니 접베니 고니 때는 좀 바다 못지네 자동으로 기용으로 시셔고 다 이만큼기 제이고는 이만큼 그런 거네 드지 디상라서 버칠 때는 그 뭐네 지금 옛다 옹위 다 어떤 범어도 따당 농물로 소바된 스트지니 디강라 배지 나마나 좀 때는 무트지고 무트지는 무트 저바 그런 거 따데 뭐 마음반 시고 당아도 담와 남기 때문에 왜 늘삼 전니 tellatene chadangla sobakini terjigo ngunijina phashoktel twi tjiguni pa mutwi ngte nangzagar mato 왜 nilg phashokgana te yo maras ta te jima kangta tangsa logni sama tndoro otti jimsen mangbos gune ne ta 배군이 시바르지.
So if our previous conversation was kind of too intellectual or too abstracted, that's how you feel, and let's try to approach this similar matter from the examples or through the analogies. Right? Here we have three very sort of great examples and almost kind of visually illustrate, right, what and how how we should understand the selflessness of person and selflessness of a phenomena. The first example is about the mirror. So we all know that the functionality of the mirror, right, and the actuality of the mirror, the images of the mirror, sorry, the functionality of the mirror, we understand that. We also know the actuality of anything that appears on the surface of the mirror. That for us is unquestionable. We all know very well, right? So for example, you appear in front of the mirror in the morning when you try to make yourself presentable or ready for the day, right? If you find that it's kind of there's a black or some kind of the stuff on your face, right? And you say you saw it on the your face on the surface mirror, and then you sort of clean it away or take it away. And so when you done this thing, we go out, right, and make your appearance to others. Obviously, others would not see that the stuff was the stuff you saw while you were at the first, when you appeared to the surface of the mirror, is no longer there. So the things you taking away or clean, and it matches what the others see after you walk out from the house. That shows that this materialistic sort of the cause effect, right, is functional, right? It works. In other words, the causality, the law of causality is unquestionably true, right? Even though we know that we have no question, the very face you see on the surface of your mirror, which is a mere reflection of your face, is not your face itself. It wasn't, right? It is not. You know that for sure, and you have no doubt about it. However, it doesn't harm you or hurt you, right? Affect you to make yourself presentable and ready for the day. So that's clearly tells us, teaches us very subtle the lessons here, or the spiritual, profound spiritual instructions, and is giving us a very profound spiritual instruction here. That is the relationship between the emptiness and the appearance. Right? In the case of mirror, you are in front of you, stand up in front of your mirror, you see the appearance. That is the appearance, right? But that appearance and the emptiness are not block each other, not interfere each other. Okay? In fact, that they are working very harmoniously, right? Very competitively. Sort of, they perfectly sort of integrate the union, and then they appear in that way. But our task is to, when we upon see the images of our face in the mirror, right? We have to know what we see is the reflection of our faith, but not the faith itself. In other words, what we see is the mere appearance. Here is the key, right? The critical point. That is, when you see such appearance, right, you must sort of simultaneously, spontaneously, able to, right, reflect upon the actuality of that very appearance, that is emptiness, right? Okay, so this appearance, therefore, it becomes sort of a reference point, and lead you or help to you, point to you to the actuality of that very appearance is emptiness. At the same time, the very appearance also very harmoniously or very perfectly appear as the appearance. So that's the very key, the most important thing. And when we think of the mirror analogy, try to use the mirror analogy to understand what's going on, what is real situation. And second analogy is about the coiled rope, right? A coiled rope at a dusk, or in other words, at a dim area. In the room, a corner of the room, right, where the light is very weak, so the dim area at the corner of the, suppose like a basement in your house, right? You saw a coiled rope, and then if you had a thought upon seeing that coiled rope, and mistakenly, oh my God, there is a snake in my basement, right? So of course, if you absolutely believe that what appears to you and what your mind sort of project up onto that coiled rope and think that is a snake, which of course is absolutely mistaken, right? So that's how this analogy of a coiled rope mistaken and is being taken as the snake, right? That we have to know the beauty of the second analogy, right? Shows that again, actuality, what is really going on, right, is a piece of coiled rope, but not a snake. However, under the influence of ignorance, ultimately speaking, and because of the conditions, right? And you have to know that that is the coiled rope is empty of snake. There's no, just like there's no snake in the coiled rope at dusk or the dim area. Similarly, so the eye or the eye of a person or eye of phenomena, even though it appears something is upon them or out of there, but indeed it's not. The third analogy here given to us by the author is a conjurer or magician. Magician or conjurer, what he does, what he can do, he did is that he used the pebbles, which is like stones, right? A special stone, or marbles, and he also used the sticks, perhaps a form of a special carded wood or whatever. And because he know the tricks and he know how to use those basic sort of a tool, the conjurer or the magician, and through his tricks, and he made his audience, right, be able to see, mistakenly, of course, see there is a horse appeared on the stage, or there's elephant all of a sudden come from nowhere, it appeared on the stages where the magician or the conjurer was performing. So this example, or the analogy, the metaphor, also is a perfect example to show us that even though, right, this magician has such a way or knows the tricks, right, and how to depend upon the pebbles and sticks and make it appear mistakenly, makes his audience see elephants and horses. But in any case, whatsoever, when you track down, right, or trace back to the base of this sort of illusionary phenomena, and all the way to the pebbles, the sticks, you know, there's nothing whatsoever you can find the slide in any slightest way. Find there's horses in a pebble or and the sticks, as well as the elephant. There's none of them. However, for those audience and the influence of the such tricks, and they see for them it's kind of real, right? Speaking of magician or conjurer's tricks, it reminds me about today's modern technology, right? And for example, like movie, the very movie are the things we see on the screen, and then in a sense that you can say it is the performance or the show of a conjurer or the magicians. 差不多了。
好了，说，刚才开始讲的这个，我的今年单的刚才的农路他妈搞是那呢，包括生的中国个，就当东巴你几吨的多高啊嘞，是那多少那呢样。我这个东个东西多少呢？其他们这个东西东西，人家今多特个，但这大呢，这多些把那娘娘讲这个新人了，但今呢，马诺了就我买呢，多特个嘞，就得送，但他们得送不啊。
So another point I like to raise, and to share with you is from this long paragraph so we have a read. Is that as we reach the end of today's reading, we know one thing one advice given to us by the great master, great being, Aribandra, and the eminent Indian master, when he says that he advises us is that even though to fully realize or comprehending, right, again, the perfect comprehension of emptiness, the emptiness of self, personal self, emptiness of phenomena is a difficult one. Nevertheless, if you depend upon, right, according to the great master again, the Aribandra, if you depend upon or go searching for and then rely on, right, and maintain the perfect relationship, right, with realized, advanced, highly accomplished, achieved the master, it is not impossible, because through the help assistance by the great master and who understand this very subject matter, and once you understood one critical point, you understand the essence of the emptiness or teachings of emptiness, then you can sort of you can resemble it, right? Or take it and to apply the very knowledge to all the other matters or other the subjects, and so will reach the same outcome. So therefore, it is difficult. But once you get it by the help through the assistance of the great masters, and then it is possible for you to fully master this difficult subject matter.
거야. 링리 사도 총총 주시고 상고 요시라.
Now I have a very quick and small announcement.
강에는 아니다 디지마자 님이니마 안가주다 타마들이 토던 디자다위 님 주창 저주 상마 니올란로 로고 김치가르는 벽에라다 기타 아리나라니 시디게 몰음 침보 속고요래 기타 몰음 침보도 초아때 같은 곳에서 정말 지송하고 침보고 하세 몰음 침보도 손에 따때는 긴장고 초디들 까르 김치가르는 성지 좀 던디게 늦지용스 좀 디니 아니 코로나 지금 가서나 갑자기 장자마다 망보즈배 춤추지고니 아니 시딜라고니 아니 참아 된장이 차네 저와 종이니 못해 지다동 보다 동보 저와 종이니 못해 된디 디신 캡버진도 디 니모텔라 아니 니마 던트식거랑다 된디 전춘된든든지 타마 저와 종이니 못해 용수가 배원 디니 시디 전든결 된디 몰음스 전부 소울 때 속고정 아주 참아 된 로인 근데 일단 몰음 디강다 럼보치 아저럼보치 던드시 단인 지게 배트나즈 구즈를 하시네 달 양지 지름 붙이는 양스 지름 붙이다 따나 나차티들이 요차 akchebeda kuzote ndaba chigma de tanga samme na de kale khoron nang chorte na dar bochiga te nganazu gombing onire bochiga kajin ne tigangla chi phashongla da kanglen rosong chembor pe hol lagu yor ne tela chita ginda mong budan dishna te jila ta chitanga mong bujur telan rosong chi zongon chi tang tana yogon de gzne bochik te kanang so ten chata ngazu ngene jimaza da nyami ma ten zda so ti nyama go shandab kang jong da ngazu ti malmu chimola pa pu yin se ti gang la ne ngazu mandang kang de da gombing ne shandab je ne kachi ne ngazu pa song lo sr bochi lo sr chinja te ngazu malmu chok ni won ro yin se ti na jima ti jimi za ni mala zda yo mar sira da jima shi chok to chi she ne jima jong shandab 지마 샨덥도 정말 몰음 치몰로 그래 남바조 특성 게 녜나 티가 샨덥도 약간 티 뜻sama 세마즘 시티
Okay, here is what I would like to share with you. Next Sunday, we're going to have a class, and then the following the Monday after next Sunday's class, and in the following Monday, all the vulnerable ones will go to New York City. We're going to attend a great prayer festival, Molam Chemo. That's a great prayer festival. It has a long history, and 600 more years of history, which was initiated by the Lama Tsongkhapa Jirimoche. So originally it was held in Lhasa, the capital city of Tibet. And since then, every year, on the same day, in other words, the Tibetan calendar, the first month, the 15th of first month of the Tibetan calendar, first month of the 15th of Tibetan calendar, and people would gathering in Lhasa, all the monks and from all over the Tibet, and would celebrate the special event that is the week. Okay, then according to the narratives of Buddha and Shakyamuni, how he attained enlightenment. So according to the literature, and in 1 week that the Buddha in that particular week ended the day, the week ended the day followed in 15th fell in that week, and Buddha was successfully conquered 4 different maras, okay, 4 different maras, and then as a result of Buddha's victory, and then he successfully attained enlightenment. And since then, you want to celebrate that very a great victory of Buddha Shakyamuni, and then the Molam Chemo, or the great festival of prayer, being initiated or introduced, and since then it's never ever ceased. And we here in the monastery, we decided to attempt going to New York City because this year's Molam, or the Great Festival of Prayer, particularly is aimed to the peace of the world and the peace of the here in the United States of America. We wanted to do so. So we're going to join the others and the delegates and the monks and nuns from all over the part of the United States, maybe other countries as well. So anyway, the point is, so when you come back next Sunday, we will, as like the usual, we will ask for your donations, and all donations we get that day is going to dedicated, give it to this great prayer festival of a great prayer festival held in New York City. So essentially, we talked about we should have the monastery should kind of sponsor and this kind of festival, but we know that it will involve so many resources, and including the financial resources. It's not an easy task. So, but nevertheless, we decided to collect the donations as much as possible next Sunday, and then on top of that, the monastery going to Gomba in Gomba. Gomba is going to aid some donations on top of that. Of course, individuals like me, myself, are also going to make some donations to make some contributions and to that very cost. So therefore, I encourage you and consider to make some donations, and we come back on this next Sunday, because the donation you gave in on that day is everything is going to give it to the festival, the cost of the festival, and for the great peace, and the festival of peace, prayer, and for the peace of the world and peace of the United States of America. So that's my quick announcement.
This summer, the Tangi Yerma song, the Tango Rambuchi did Todigan Sonchi song at the Shores. Rambuchi that and the Natsati on the Penna, the woman does in Shajimana, Rambuchi take and Azong and Rosonte to the Canon songs, then Satan was the changes.
And the model for the Mushi Penny, the Tambucha that Gila Pema this year, right?
Or Rambuchi because the Dandishores. So, sopping with Dandishi and Muchi Tangazo. Kodrjini tanda nasat jam yomaro dan bucha gonglu chumbur kina pe kinyu yon jirezini buchi maphe jini tan buchi kanon ne buchi pe mathani kemde ina phela rosong da ta gomi gan dit ka chini changme ka china yo kondu zini buchi kanon as tu chi tarni chushe de ki girmas
Wanda so one thing it is gombe ke rosong da is that gombe ke rosong the other chicken
rubuchi kagong da rubuchi kandasin rubuchi ta sunon da da ngazo chikin rosong tang ne phechi 전부치 인세요 왔. 응아랑 가지고 말.
Also. Yeah, it's my mistake, so my apologies. I didn't translate one important point, and that is initially this great festival of prayer, and organizers, they invited Ajahn Rinpoche and to be the VIP and to attend and to host this festival. And as you all know, that the virus is still around, and Rinpoche also is relatively an aged person. So therefore, Rinpoche is not going to personally attend the festival of Great Prayer himself, but he encouraged that to also advise the Gomba and to collect the donations and then also authorize the Gomba to put an additional the money and donate it to this festival.
Lost without
Thank you, Geshe Kunga, Tempa, and Tenzin. If you would like to make a donation for this teaching, it would be greatly appreciated by the monks in the monastery. And also, you'll be donating to our translator, Tenzin. And you can do this by calling 812-336-6807 or by emailing the center at tmbcc.kcl@gmail.com. For those of you here in the temple, I'll pass around the begging bowl, and you may make a donation if you would like. And for those of you who cannot, you may just say a prayer or a mantra into the bowl. Thank you.
Sero Ganda Yahweh
월 마들 강제 타바 조나 지조自人老宗保的一特的难解道的主西上朝夕将左手跟着人那么人不知道所念个把没当时那个真全部国内接送的歌颂特别爱这咱的手成就人不知马街把那节日去见我娘把没不样公的公的陪我说刚热热为过为上空的半当的我马里中为你夏日子王等怎样做也下不生的把的等眼儿去家不把我这点钱把当滚的上不这样的人的得到更结就是到路中给我的到他们知道的我第什么傻逼叫我他们之间我刚刚说的我把给予早晚的更强，总不就是让的我儿子，俺的中的担保的上的，但这节务他们是更上，历程更拉的这种为你上的担保到的一点去。在这我跟的要我总高为当初新年我是这边的，要为我被朗上的年里，个去怎样都不儿